Thank you so much, Melissa. And thank you, Kyle and Louise. It's always wonderful to hear the words of Ernest Holmes. And if you don't know who he is, maybe you're here for the first time or you never heard of him before, but he is the mystic and the teacher and the author and the founder of this philosophy called the science of mind that he started back in the early 1900s. 1927 is when he wrote the textbook, The Science of Mind, but he also wrote 27 other books and, founded this whole thing and is the reason that we're sitting here today. So I always love to hear what he has to say because it's always truth to me. And so thank you for reading that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we're at the end of our Begin month. Yeah. So I want to know if anybody just began something. You don't have to tell me, but maybe you began something you've been holding back on, and maybe you didn't. I don't know. But just think about that, because it's never too late. Remember what I said before, that, you can start any time, and it's new any time. So if you didn't begin something this month that you've been holding off on, then you can do it now, and it's just as good. So we talked about the reasons that we might not begin projects and things that we want to do or begin a new life in some way is because sometimes we're fearful about the outcome. Sometimes we think we don't have what it takes to do it. Sometimes we just don't want to be a failure, supposedly, or something like that. Or maybe there's a lot of naysayers in our life, so we just kind of listen to the outside world. I've heard that a lot, well, we're going to just wait and see what happens in the world before we start this. And I'm like, why wait? What you're starting might be the whole answer to everything, so start it right now. Anyway, so that's what the whole month has been about. And at the beginning of the month, I wrote the little letter that was at the front of our e-blast, and it said, I kind of played with Shakespeare's Hamlet's quote, "To begin or not to begin? That is the question. Do we suffer the slings and arrows of procrastination, or do we decide, trust, and move forward?" So my invitation is that even though this month is ending, that we do start to move forward in some area of our life that maybe we've been holding back on. So, which brings me to what I want to talk about today, to begin or not to begin, and it's about thought. We talk a lot about thought, that thought creates our reality, and thoughts are things. And sometimes I think that the reason we have some of the issues in our life is that we don't really believe that. We don't really believe that what we think about is actually manifesting as our life. That in some essence of our subconscious maybe, we don't really believe it. And so I looked up, this is not a new concept, thoughts are things. Ernest Holmes didn't come up with it. It's a very old concept. So I looked it up, I just put it in there, and I came up with Buddha saying, 5th century BC, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the ancestor of every action is thought. James Allen, this is in the 1800s, the mind is the master weaver, both of the inner garment of character and the outer garment of circumstances, the mind. Ernest Holmes, thought is more than energy, thought is power. Thought is a thing in itself. Florence Scovel Shinn, we're still in the 1800s now, whatever man feels deeply or images clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in minutest detail. And then Neville Goddard, the world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. Louise Hay, every thought we think is creating our future. Dr. Joe Dispenza, your thoughts have consequences so great that they create your reality. Greg Braden, we are creators and we create with the power of our beliefs. What we believe in our minds and feel in our hearts is what becomes real in our world. So, like I said, this is not something new, right? We've been saying it for eons and eons. And I think it's really important, at least for me, to start to really take this in and realize if I really believe it or not. Because if I really believe it, there's some of the things I think that I probably wouldn't think if I believed that my thoughts were things. And so when you look at your life and you see something like repeating over and over again, I mean, kind of take it in and go, well, I've been thinking about this an awful lot. Maybe that's why it's this way. So I know I shared in my class about the labyrinth. I used to sit here when this labyrinth was put down in 2024. I'd sit here month after month and nobody would come to the labyrinth walks. And I would sit there going, nobody's coming to my labyrinth walks. I don't know why. I must be doing something wrong. A few people are coming, and that's fine. I sat staring at this labyrinth until one day I was walking it, and it said to me, my mind said to me, you're not taking advantage of this space. And I was like, oh, you're not fully using it, basically. So I just stopped thinking that thought. I just stopped thinking it, and I said, what can I do? Because the labyrinth is important to me. And I got into class. And then I started opening up and taking action. Like I actually contacted people and said, would you be interested? And I put my thoughts behind my actions, because you have to. And now, all of a sudden, I'm doing a global labyrinth walk online. I'm going to be doing a labyrinth for hospice, in November. Like, things are opening up to me because I stopped thinking that thought that nothing was happening. So I don't know, like, what in your life you might be repeating the thought over and over again and not even realize you're doing it, because sometimes it just becomes subconscious so much so that's why this philosophy is so great, and the class was like that, because it makes you look at it. Because if you don't know it's there, if you don't know, you don't want to take accountability for what you're thinking, and you don't even know it's there, you're just thinking, then you'll just continue to think the same thing. So sometimes in our philosophy, it can be like a harsh reality to some, that their thoughts create their lives. And it's not even just your thoughts. It is your thoughts, but it's also the backing of it, because you get very emotional about things, right? I know I do. I get so emotional about a situation I might be in. I'm having a situation online right now that I need to turn around because I've gotten so emotional about what I think they're doing to me in this thing that happened. I don't need to go into it. So you get all that power behind it too. You get all those thoughts about it, and you're angry, and then you just have to pull back and go and take a deep breath. And you actually tell yourself that everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm guided, I'm directed, I'm safe. I know what to do in every moment because infinite intelligence works through me in every single solitary moment. There is a creative intelligence that created the whole universe, the stars, the moons, that put us into creation, into being. That's the power we're dealing with. So why would my little minute problem not be taken care of? The only reason it's not taken care of is because I'm thinking about how it's not being taken care of. Does this make sense? It's so obvious. And so so I'm working on this. What I'm working on right now is more mystical thinking. What is possible? What really is possible? We put limits on our thoughts. We put limits on what we can do. We put limits on things that we call magic, which aren't. That's our theme next month, is magic. We put limits on the actual infinite intelligence that we are and that we're working with. And we say, well, only this is possible and that's possible. Nobody's ever cured from this, so that's not possible. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, we were online with somebody that their doctor had actually told them, laid it out for her, how she could go into remission, but it would sure come back and she would die eventually. And I'm like, what right do you have to tell somebody that? There's infinite intelligence working through each and every one of us, and everybody's different, right? And Ernest Holmes uses the term, when people tell somebody something's incurable, whether it's your finances or your health or whatever, incurable means not cared for. Its root definition is not cared for, and there's nothing in this universe that's not cared for. We are all cared for. So it's just kind of a switch in your mind that has to go off, that you were here and now all of a sudden you're leveled and you get it, and you're here, and you embody it, and your subconscious embodies it, and then that's when you can move forward, and that's when the doors open for new possibilities. So that's really what I want to say today. And I just want to do this one other thing because it's really important. And you'll get it, maybe. We have something in the science of mind called secondary causation. Okay, all it means is that you're looking at something, like I was looking at the labyrinth, right? And you're creating your next thought from what you're looking at instead of backing up and going to first cause, the newness, your beautiful imagination, and thinking something new, like elevating yourself to the infinite. That's first cause. But when you create from secondary causation, you're just creating from the repeated pattern, like you look at your checkbook and the money's not there, and you keep going, oh yeah, the money's not there, this is what happens every month, the money's not, and then what happens? You keep thinking that thought, and there you go. I think you're getting it. The thing is now we need to put it into action, right? So I'm going to read a quote in my closing. I just love this quote, and it's Henry David Thoreau. Did I read it last week or was it in class? If I did, I'm going to read it again. I think it was in class, and if I did, we needed to hear it again. That's why I pulled it up. So I think it's really important because he wrote this, and he's a man of his word, and he did a lot, and he wrote a lot, and he, spent some time in jail because, he didn't believe in what was going on, and he didn't care. He just had an idea about life, and he knew that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. And I want to just stop there because common hours are the hours that we spend thinking things that don't serve us. Common hours. You're never going to get to where you're going if you keep thinking in common hour thought. Then he goes, he will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary, new universal and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him. I love that. Like, as soon as you can do that, then you're going to learn things and know things and imagine things that you didn't imagine before. And the old laws will be expanded and interpreted in his favor in a more liberal sense. And he will live with the license of a higher order of beings. He will live with the license of a higher order of beings. And I think that's where we're going. We need to be those higher order of beings that think new thoughts, that think things that might seem impossible, that keep thinking them and keep feeling them and keep putting them into action. And we're going to see that the world is shifting and changing, and that we don't have to focus on what's not right. We can pull back and focus on what is right, and then just live from that place. Namaste.